I'm Al Bacon, and I would like to welcome you to my Let's Fix It Right channel for easy and straightforward solutions for your home improvement, maintenance, and repair needs and projects. And this is my faithful assistant Cody, who will help us get this project right with his dogged determination and helpful project tips. In this episode, Cody and I will show you how to professionally install crown molding on your kitchen cabinets and achieve perfectly fitting joints like these. In part 1, we'll perform a straightforward installation on a rectangular cabinet design. And in part 2, we'll show you how to install crown molding on a set of cabinets built around a complex corner cabinet. In episode 74, we'll install the crown molding on this rectangular cabinet here. And in episode 75, we'll perform a more sophisticated installation on this set of cabinets with a corner cabinet. Even if you're a beginner, Cody and I are going to take you step by step through our processes so you'll be able to achieve my professional results with perfect fits and joints using my 2 videos, which contain some unique approaches that you will not see anywhere else on the internet. Let's take a look at our challenge that requires us to install perfectly cut and fitted crown molding on this irregular mounting surface composed of these irregular corners and different thicknesses of mounting frame. For the front frame, we have 3/4 inch oak. For the side panel frame here, as well as the side panel over here, we have 1/2 inch plywood. And as you can see, we have an irregular corner over here on the right and over here on the left. So that's why we are going to mount a perfectly aligned baseline frame on top of these 3 panel pieces, which include side panel 1, 2, and our front panel. When installed, this baseline frame will provide a perfect mounting surface for our crown molding. This is the primary material that we'll be using for the project. My wife picked out this molding, and I have 2 8-foot lengths which provide extra wood for practice cuts and fits. And it's large crown molding that measures 5¼ inches from here to here. And this is a good shot of its cross section. And we'll be using this pre-painted pine that I bought from Home Depot, which I ripped in half for the baseline frame. Prior to cutting, these pre-painted pieces were 5½ inches wide. We'll use this stock for crown molding alignment guides to secure the crown molding while we're gluing and nailing the molding in place. And it's 3/4 inch wide and 1/2 inch thick. The tools and equipment that I used for this project are as follows: 2P10 thick adhesive and activator glue, Wilson Art Type 2 glue, which is equivalent to Elmer's Carpenter glue, and Loctite heavy duty PL 375 construction adhesive, my rigid brad gun and these 1¼ inch and 2 inch brads, a pancake compressor to power the brad gun, Dremel or Bauer tools to cut off the excess brad lengths for safety purposes, adjustable clamps, water putty or plastic wood filler, 220 grit fine sandpaper and 50 grit coarse sandpaper, a hammer, and a nail set. And this is my compound miter saw shown here next to my worthy assistant Cody, or you can use a standard chop saw, a table saw, and lastly, high quality Diablo blades for accurate cuts with my miter saw and table saw. For links to competitive pricing for the Diablo blades and these other tools, go to the description below and select Show More. This is one of the baseline frame mounting blocks that I installed on the top of my cabinets. Please notice that I included these perpendicular reinforcement flanges to ensure the mounting blocks are perpendicular, and they in turn ensure that the baseline frame is perfectly aligned with the front and two sides of the cabinet. Consequently, I installed these mounting blocks here on the left, the center, and here on the right of the cabinet. I installed these mounting blocks by first applying a generous amount of PLC 375 construction adhesive, then position them in place with one in the center and two on the right, and then nail them in place. Put about 4 braids in place. And with these perpendicular side pieces in place here, we pretty well know that these things are square. So that's a benefit of this. We'll put about 4 nails into each side. Okay, with the blocks glued and nailed in position, it's important to note that the blocks define the specific or the exact dimensions of the baseline frame we're going to build at this time. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the left side of the cabinet and build the left, center, and then the right side, so we'll have perfect corners on our cabinet facing. So I have this cut purposely too small, so we're going to put it into place here and this into place here. As you can see, we have a nice corner at this time. Okay, to make this a little bit easier to measure, I've clamped this, temporarily clamped the center piece here, reference line of our baseline frame, so we can get a good measurement on our left side, our first left side. So you can see we're flush up against it at this time. And for our measurement, I read 11 and 15/16 of an inch. Okay, so I have 11 and 15/16 measured at this time here, as you can see. And I have, with my square, I've added the cut area, or the cut line, for my compound miter saw. So we'll make okay, so that completes my cut. With the baseline frame cut and glued, I'll now nail it in place. Over here for the rear. Before. Okay, so we'll now move on to the front of the frame. I've temporarily mounted scrap pieces here on the front and right sides. This will enable us to get a decent measurement from here to here, which is 33 1/8 of an inch. Okay, that cuts our 33 1/8 inch piece. Let's take it up and install it. With PLC 375 adhesive applied, I've put the front piece in place. We're going to nail this in place. Using the same techniques with the other two sides, I've measured, cut, and placed some glue on the third side so we can nail it in place at this time. That completes the baseline frame. We're now ready to measure, cut, and install our crown molding. These two quick checks of our 90-degree angle corner joints of the baseline frame show that they are perfectly square and validate the accuracy of our process for measuring and installing the baseline frame. Prior to measuring and installing the crown molding, I'm going to temporarily install these crown molding alignment guides. The purpose of these guides is to perfectly hold and align the crown molding while I permanently cement and nail the crown molding in place. These guides are 3/4 of an inch wide and 1/2 inch thick. At this time, I'll nail them in place with a few brads. That completes the front alignment guide. Now we'll do the left side. Okay, we're going to do the right. This is a sample joint of crown molding that I put together. Prior to installing the molding on my first cabinet, I'll show you how well this alignment guide holds it in place. As you can see, it does a great job. We'll do the same over here. As you can see, it does a fantastic job on the left also. Once again, this clearly shows how well our crown molding alignment guide works. With the alignment guide installed, we can now get some precision measurements of our baseline frame for measuring and cutting our crown molding. As you can see, the left side is exactly 12 inches. And we're right between 33 and 1/16 and 33 and 1/8 on the front. And on the back side, on the other side, we got 11 and 15/16 to 12 inches. This is the crown molding cutting jig that I built. It's made out of pine on the back side and chipboard on the bottom. I nailed this piece of trim in place to securely hold the crown molding while cutting. Notice that I've marked my brad holes when I pieced it together so I won't ruin my high quality Diablo Saw blade. It only takes one nail to destroy an expensive blade. It's approximately 45 inches long, 6 inches wide on the base, and 4.5 inches tall on the back side. As you can see, the crown molding fits in here perfectly. The back side is flush here and on the bottom here. It's very important to note that you set up the bottom of the crown molding for the outside 90-degree corners, which are made from two 45-degree angle cuts on the top of the jig, and for the inside corners, which you'll see in episode 75, set up the top of the crown molding on the top of the jig. I currently have it set up for my two 45-degree angle cuts to start off with in this direction and in this direction. So far, the jig did a great job helping me build this sample piece. So with this in mind, let's get to work. Okay, so we're set up in the jig. I'm flush on the top and the bottom. I'm right down the middle as far as my cut goes, or 45-degree angle. So let's go ahead and make the cut. Got the first cut, and we want to measure 12 inches from this point to this point. Okay, so I've got my measuring tape set up here, and I've got 12 inches exactly measured right along this line here. So let's go ahead and make that cut. To do that, I'll just remove the jig. And let's take it upstairs and see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm up here on the cabinet with the crown molding we just cut. And as you can see, our cut came out perfect. At this time, we'll make the first cut on our front piece of crown molding. And we have a good cut. And we'll see how this fits. And it looks to me like we've got a great fit. This is the second jig I made. It helps bond and glue our 90-degree crown molding joints. Started off with a jig similar to this, well, identical to this actually. Made two 45-degree cuts, nailed it together here, added a reinforcement block back here, and as you can see, we have a perfect 90-degree jig. So this is what I use to do the 90-degree corners, and so we'll build the first 90-degree corner on the second cabinet at this time. I have the 90-degree jig set up on my workbench, and this is the first test article that I built using the jig. I have the two pieces of crown molding that we just cut, 12-inch one here, and the other one with several additional inches to cut off for the other corner. Since this is a longer piece, I've added this spacer out here so we have the same distance above the workbench. I now have a perfect 90-degree angle set up. So as you can see, we're looking pretty good. Okay, so next we'll apply a generous amount of 2P10 along the joint. Here, I then sprayed activator on the opposite side of the joint. And glue this in place. And we'll hold this in place per the 2P10 activator instructions, which call for 2 to 4 seconds to align, 10 seconds to set, and 30 seconds to cure. Okay, so we'll lift this off the jig at this time. Be very careful. Next, we'll build these reinforcement blocks for our 90-degree angles. Using this sample corner piece for our 90-degree angles, we are going to capture this angle of incidence for our reinforcement blocks. I've captured the angle here and also transferred it to my table saw. Okay, so I'll fire up the table saw at this time. Okay, so we have one side of that of that stock cut. So we'll return to the basement and we'll cut the other side. I've also captured this angle of incidence and transferred it to my compound miter saw. So at this time, I'll cut the 90-degree corner reinforcement blocks. Okay, so we have that cut. Okay, so at this time we'll cut off the actual piece. Okay, so we have that cut off, and let's see what we have. We'll go over here to the edge, and as you can see, it fits very nicely in here. We're in good shape here. So we'll go ahead and cut several more of these for our other 90-degree pieces. Okay, that completes my cutting of the corner pieces. This is one of the reinforcement blocks that we just finished cutting. I'll apply a generous amount of PL 375 at this time. And we'll spread this out evenly so we get a good bond. Okay, so with the adhesive in place, we're going to go ahead and set the reinforcement block here in place, hold it, and get our first brad. Get our first brad in place, and we'll check this, make sure this joint stays true. We still got a good 90-degree joint here. Okay, so we've got a nice tight 90-degree joint that's reinforced, and let's take this upstairs and put it on the cabinet and see what we got. I've returned to the kitchen with my 2 pieces of crown molding reinforced with a 90-degree block. At this time, I'm going to set the molding in place on the alignment guides. I'll move up the ladder here. As you can see, it positions perfectly. I have some holes here, wood filling holes here, and a little bit of work to do on the corner piece, but for the most part, it's in great shape here. One of the key points about the alignment guides is they enable you to capture a precision cutting mark for your 45-degree angle cuts. So we can take that down to the jig. We'll make that 45-degree angle cut, and we'll bring it up here, and we'll make absolutely sure that that's correct before we move forward. Set up my 2 pieces of crown molding on the cutting jig. This roller supports the outside corner. This is the mark we captured upstairs, so let's make our cut now. Let's cut this out. So let's take this upstairs and see what we have. And we'll set it back up in here on my alignment guides. We'll check our fits. This one 12 inches from here to here. And looks like we got a good fit here. We put this in and we've got a perfect fit. I finished the right corner using the same techniques that I demonstrated on the left corner. This included adding this reinforcement block, 2 pieces of crown molding, and 1 pieces of 90-degree and I sanded and filled all the holes and joints. So at this time I'm going to put our molding in place on top of our alignment guides and check the molding's fit. Okay, it slipped right on, seems to fit perfectly, and it does on that side as well as this side over here. Our next step is to run a bead of glue just above our crown molding alignment guide. Okay, continue on here with the glue. Okay. We'll now put the crown molding in place and permanently nail it in position. Okay, so I'm going up top at this time and putting our crown molding in place. As you can see, we have a great fit still. We do have some oozing out to the side. Let's see what we have over here on this side. Yeah, so we've got good contact, a good install throughout. So let's go ahead and get our nail gun and nail this in place at this time. Okay, that takes care of the front. We'll go over to this side. Okay, we're nailed in place over here. Nice solid insulation, as you can feel. See? And we'll move to the third side. Okay, we're nailed in all the way around. So let's go ahead and remove the alignment guides at this time. And okay, so let's remove these. Remove the alignment guides. Okay, we got the center one off. And we got the left side off. For our final strength addition, we're going to add these 3 crown molding mounting braces on the left, center, and right of our crown molding structure. I've captured this angle of incidence, and we'll cut this angle into the edges of this high-grade pine to build the mounting braces. It's important to note that it's very unlikely that pine will split, and it will provide a lot of additional reinforcement and strength to the structure in the hot, humid environment where we live in the Midwest. With that said, let's move to the saw and make our cuts. Okay, so I'll cut 2 of these at this time out the end pieces. will be my final cut. And I now have 3 blocks ready to go for installation above. These locations are where the braces will be mounted. Number 1 on the left, number 2 in the center, and number 3 over here on the right. I've applied a generous amount of Contractors heavy-duty PL 375 cement on the braces here, on the front faces, as well as on the undersides. At this time, I'm going to put them in position for nailing with my 2-inch brads. 3 goes here on the right. Number 2 goes here in the center. And number 1 is positioned over here on the left. Let's nail a few 2-inch brads into the top of each brace at this time. Starting on the right, let's nail the front side to finish up. Three. As you can see, all these brads protruded through the top of the braces and pose a potential safety problem. In other words, somebody could cut themselves while reaching on top of the cabinet. With that said, I cut off the brads which were sticking out with my Dremel. And that completes the overall job. This concludes this episode where Cody and I showed you how to professionally install crown molding on rectangular kitchen cabinets with a straightforward installation approach developed for beginners. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and select the YouTube bell so YouTube will notify you of all my new projects immediately after I publish them. At this time, Cody and I are moving on to our next project. You're more than welcome to follow. In addition, if you have a great project that you want to post on my YouTube channel, email me some pictures and a brief description of it. If it qualifies for the Let's Fix It Right standards to help others, I'll interview you over the phone as a guest do-it-yourselfer, produce a high-quality video, and post it on my Let's Fix It Right channel. For the year following this posting, I'll share 50% of the potential YouTube benefits with you. If you have any subject matter requests or recommendations, please contact me. All of this said, I recommend that you subscribe to my channel, follow my projects, and save a bundle of money doing it.